Right guys, as you can see, I've already shaped the lure and marked where I'm gonna be doing the saw cuts, as I'm gonna be doing on this first stage of cutting. And I'm just gonna use my trusty hand saw. And of course you want to be as accurate as possible and not so crooked or anything like that, because well, that's gonna come up and bite you in the ass later on. And as you can see how I'm starting with all of the cuts, I always draw downward with the saw first and actually don't put a lot of force in it while I do that. It's much more easy to get a nice good start when you do it like that. We just move the swim bait a little bit. And you guys probably can't see it right now, but I'm actually constantly checking the other side as well, that I'm actually cutting straight and not over cutting on the other side, because well, that can happen quite easily, so keep an eye on that while you do this. And here we go. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side as well. Okay, I'm gonna start and mark the centerline, and I usually always do this for swim baits and well, pretty much any kind of lure that I make. It just makes things much more easier to align later on. You know, when you're adding hardware or when you're actually gonna be shaping the lure, it really does help a lot when you have this center line here. Makes life much more easier. Alright, since I was thinking of actually making a separate tail or detachable tail or tail that I can add later, however I call it, I'm gonna be making a slot for it, and usually it's much more easier to start off the slot making by drilling these holes one after the other. It just makes it a little bit more easier to do it like this if you're going to be using a Dremel tool or something like that. Just takes a little bit less time to actually do it, I think. And it seems like my battery is almost out of juice. I think I'm gonna have to put that on charger and finish it off later. Okay, next up I'm gonna start widening the slot for the tail. And what I'm actually gonna be doing, I'm gonna leave a section inside the slot that's, well, it's almost like a ridge basically, that should help securing the tail a little bit better when I'm actually gonna be putting the tails on finished swim bait. This is the first time I'm actually trying this method out, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna work pretty well. Or at least I hope so. In theory it should work, but you never know. Anyway, as you guys can see, I'm actually not taking a lot of material out when I'm doing this. I usually tend to do it very gently, because I have a tendency of actually screwing up quite easily with the Dremel tool. This is not my tool. Let's try the tail. Yeah, seems like I still need to take a little bit of material out. I think I'm gonna try a different kind of Dremel pit. This is more like a ball-shaped one. I'm much more comfortable with this one. And like with the other Dremel bit, I'm not taking a lot of material out. Just want to be careful that I don't screw up. And it seems like I need to tighten up the drill bit a little bit. Sometimes when you're using old gear like I have, things start to come loose much more easier. I think I have had this same Dremel tool for, or I shouldn't say Dremel tool because this is not a Dremel tool, but a multi-tool. I've had this for, I'd say, at least 10 years, so I'm actually shocked that it actually works still. But German quality, I guess. Try again with the tail. Still not fitting too well. Also, when you're doing a slot like this, you have to take into consideration that you don't actually make it too deep, so that you won't get troubles later on. When you actually part the sections from each other, you're gonna see it later on. So I'm not gonna say too much about that yet. Now it's starting to fit. I think I'm gonna stop it here and we'll pick it up later on. Alright, next up I'm gonna part all of the sections from each other, and let's hope it goes well. Let's move the piece a little bit. And like before, I try my best to go straight across the line and not veer off too much. But of course sometimes that does happen too, but try to be careful. Alright, it seems like I screwed up a little bit and a few of the cuts are not exactly straight. And I'm gonna show you guys a trick that I've learned throughout the years, and that is just to mix some sawdust to epoxy. And what this does is make the epoxy a little bit more thicker and a little bit more easier to shape and cut and sand even. And yeah, I'm just gonna make this a little patch of epoxy and sawdust and make that into a paste that I'm just gonna be putting on the sections that I've screwed up. Naturally, you don't have to do this if you don't screw up, so be sure to try and be more careful with the saw, or more careful than I was, at least. Of course, you could use some sort of car putty too, but this is just a nice little trick that I've picked up years before. It actually makes the epoxy a little bit more easier to shape and cut and sand even. And you always want to have the sawdust as fine as possible. And there isn't really a mixed ratio that I usually use. I just, you know, do it by hand or eye or whatever you want to call it. And as you can see, it has fairly thick consistency, so it's quite easy to spread around the area that you want to cover. And I think we're almost done here. Alright, I'm gonna start wedging off the male parts of the door hinge, and as you can see they pop off quite easily, and this is because the wood grain is horizontally, so it doesn't take much force to actually wedge them off. I find this to be much more easier to do than actually sawing them off. Okay, I'm gonna continue on with the female part of the door hinge, and usually always start with the opposite ends of the where the cut should be. Always do those first, and then I just move on to having a lot of cuts in between these two. Usually you have them a couple of millimeters apart from each other, and yeah, there's not much to say about this really. Just try not to oversaw from the other side as well. So always check up from the other side that you're not going over, because that might cause problems later. And as you can see, I'm just leaving a few millimeters in between the saw cuts that I'm doing here. And we're done. Okay, now that I've cut all of the small sections, I'm gonna start wedging them off with a knife. So this is, well, might look a little bit brutal, but works pretty well, I found. And if there's any better way to do this, of course, it would be cool if you guys would tell me. But personally, I found this to be quite a fast way of actually doing this, and it actually doesn't take too much effort later on when you actually have to smooth things out a little bit. And yeah, works quite well, and might actually be a little bit more easier to do with softer woods, but of course then you would have to be more careful with the actual pieces that you're gonna be taking the wedges off, so that you don't break them as well. And but yeah, by the way, the wood that I'm using here is maple. I'm pretty much almost done here. And there the house should look like. Looks a bit savage, but I can work with. Okay, as you guys can see, I've jumped ahead a little bit and filed all of the pieces now and make sure that they're all that they all fit together perfectly. Now I'm just gonna drill the first hole for the pin. That is gonna be holding the swim bait together. And of course make sure that you're drilling straight like always. And now I'm gonna just use the other part to actually make a small imprint on the middle section, or the male section of the door hinge. And now we're just gonna drill through that, and of course making sure that I actually drill straight. And seems like I've actually pushed the drill a little bit too hard, and seems like my drill bit is stuck. This happens all the time to me, so nothing new there. I'm just gonna adjust the drill bit a little bit, and we're gonna drill through the male section. Now I'm just gonna put the two sections together and basically use both of them as a pilot hole for the hole on the roof of the swim bait. And there we go, we have a pinhole. Now I'm just gonna do the same thing to all of the sections. So next up I'm gonna start and cut the excess off from the hinges, and this is gonna be allowing the hinges to move a little bit more freely inside the hinge slots. And like always, try to saw straight. Right, I'm gonna put this thing other way around. And let's do the other side as well. And here what it should look like. Now I'm just gonna do the same thing with other sections as well. Okay, next up I'm gonna start shaping the hinges, and as you can see I've marked these little spots here inside the swim bait, and I'm gonna be basically using those as a reference when I'm gonna be shaping the sections here. Basically what the reference lines inside the swim baits are, they're the same width as the male sections that I just sawed. And yeah, basically what this sort of thing does for the swim bait is that it allows the sections to move much more freely, and so that in that way you're gonna get the full range of motion the hinge actually is gonna be allowed to do. I think I'm almost satisfied with this one. Just take a little bit out of the other one as well. Usually when I do this I actually take the other section and then just basically put the whole of the swim bait together and then just see how it works. Okay, next up I'm gonna start doing a round hole inside of the swing bait section. And I usually always start with this inverted wedge type of Dremel bit. Just usually helps to get the center line or center of the round hole actually centered. And of course this thing takes much more material out than, let's say, the round one that I have, so it makes more sense to use this first. I'm gonna put the thing other way around now. Start doing the other side. Okay, I'm gonna switch to the ball bit now, and I'm gonna actually start shaping the round hole to a round shape. Now it's more like a V, so just gonna start doing that. Basically, you just want to take a lot of time with this so that the round hole is perfectly round. You definitely don't want to have any unevenness inside the hole. And basically just gonna do the same thing to the other side and try to make it as round as possible. Okay, next I'm gonna start using a engraving bit that's basically, well, you're gonna see it soon. And what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna actually try to make the edges much more tighter. I just try to make the edges as sharp as possible. And just gonna do the same thing to the other side. And I think I'm almost done with this one. Like I said, just make sure that it's perfect. So next up I'm basically gonna just do the same exact thing that I did to the other parts, to the counter part of the hinge. And it seems like my drill bit is a little bit loose here. I might have to tighten that up a little bit. Okay, that's much more better. And as you can see, I'm not actually trying to take too much material out at once, because it seems like it's burning the wood too much, so that's not good. And of course you don't want to take too much out, you just want to take enough. And let me just do the other side as well. And basically next I'm gonna take a different kind of a drill bit and clean those edges out and make it much more sharper. And basically this is the idea. Still gonna have to make that thing round. And as you can see, I've skipped ahead a little bit again, and basically what I've done is I've used this plastic putty to make the male parts round so that they fit to the slots that I've cut, or that I sanded or drilled, sanded and drilled earlier. And yeah, basically this is just me cleaning up a little bit of extra stuff that I added to the male part. Because like I said, I want to have the edges pretty straight. And since I'm gonna be just using this as a mold master basically, and of course I forgot to mention before that this sort of door hinge actually doesn't work with completely wooden baits, because wood is gonna water is gonna seep into the pinholes, and then you're gonna have a bad time, because your swim bait is gonna be ruined eventually. Gonna do the same thing to the opposite side or opposite section. Just gonna clean off the excess that I have here. Okay, I'm gonna start sanding the parts now. I usually prefer to use grit 80, and of course later on I'm gonna be using a little bit more softer, or what do you wanna call it, softer or grit that is much more bigger, so you're not gonna be end up having these ugly looking grooves on the hinges. But since this stuff is quite hard, it pays off to have something that actually can take that stuff off. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing to the male section. Or the middle part, whatever you want to call it. Alright, let's see if it fits and if it has the right movement. Seems like I still have to take a little bit out. Let's give it a go. Yeah, seems to be working pretty well. So basically I'm actually done with this swim bait now, regarding with the hinges. And as you can see, let me just pull this out a bit. And it has pretty nice movement. Should work pretty well. And I'm actually gonna do another episode to this, and I'm gonna be showing you how to do a little bit of carving in vein of this bait. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial of mine again, and hope I'm gonna be doing a lot more of these during this winter, now that I actually have a camera to film them on. So see you guys next time, and tight lines.